All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this edition of the X Fan Show here on the X Fan Show's Facebook page, on Facebook, Twitter, and on YouTube. Yes, this is just the A Train here for those that have asked upon. Um, yeah, Dirty is Spurge is not on the show tonight, and for right now, for what we know for the foreseeable future. And this is kind of a surprise to me when I got this information that he was not going to be around. And, I've been around him for quite a long time. And, I have a lot of mixed emotions about it. And, this comes so sudden. And, I was really hoping that he was going to be around for the show today. But I was definitely surprised by it, but I got to keep the show going. So that's kind of how this thing is going to have to roll. But thank you for tuning in once again. If you're finding us, thank you for finding us on, finding me. No, I'm sorry. I'm saying that's why I'm getting a little bit crazy on Facebook.com. /XFan Show. You can also go to Twitter.com /XFan Show. You can also go to Twitch.com. And unfortunately, we didn't even put that out there, but we're going to do it now. So those of you are following us on Twitch, you can do that right now as we speak. From what I was told, it is personal reasons. And he's stepping aside for I don't know how long. And man, it's a surprise, man. Like I've been really caught off guard with it. I do apologize for starting the show late too, and because just trying to get everything together. And I lost track of time. Usually I'm on it. Today has just one of been those weird days about getting this off the ground. But I'm definitely we're gonna get back into the swing of things as it was before. And so but yeah, I'm here. I'm like I said, I'm grateful for y'all tuning into the show. Yeah, Flame Wingman, it is some personal reasons on it. And yeah, he is really stepping away for it. And I was like, come on, man, like really, and I have no choice but to respect it. So, if you do see him, just say you're thinking about him, man. That's all, how I look at it. And so that's my guy. At the end of the day, he's my guy, and all the time, man, Chris. It's all day, every day, man. It's all love here. Again, if you are tuning in tonight, you can make sure you tune in to us on tune in on Facebook.com/X-Fan Show, on Twitter, X-Fan Show, Twitch.com/X-Fan Show. All right. So yeah, we're keeping this bad boy rolling. As always, I have like nothing but love to Dirty, and the door is always welcome for him to come back. So whenever he's ready, I'm never gonna shut the door on him. I really was looking forward to getting to touch in on the games from last week. I'm still gonna do that because those that tuned in, I don't even know how I did with the picks. I think I went 3-1 this past week because I picked DC, I picked Arlington, and I did pick St. Louis to win against their respective squads. And Birmingham just happened to come out and they get a dub for once. So yeah. Big ups to the Birmingham Stallions. They had got their dub against the Panthers 21-12. Matt Corral being the quarterback and whatnot. Looks like the Stallions are back in order. They don't need Alex McGough, who finds himself on IR. And I am amazed, friends, how y'all realize that this is not the same Alex McGough from 2023. This is different. This league is different. The competition is different. And you say what you want about the gameplay or whatnot. It's a lot tougher to score. And you all should know, as many times as we've been doing this, those first 4 to 5 weeks have always been the most difficult because it's really getting acclimated. And that at some point, if the UFL seasons continue to grow, it continues to grow, then you can add more games to the mix, more teams to the mix, and it leads to bigger and better competition. And at this rate, though, when we've seen a 10-game season, it usually gets started around week 4, week 5, where things are really starting to gel. Now, I would love for that to change this year. I would love for that to change. But if it does not change, and there is another year, you can definitely see something happening with that then. Because everybody's starting to, because you got to remember, guys are getting on practice squads and making teams and whatnot, getting back into the fold. And it's going to be interesting to really see what happens as we progress on with the season. If you look at the bottom, you can recap all the scores. You can catch some of the news that has been already dropped by the UFL. As I spoke in just a little while ago, Stallions and Panthers. Very, very upsetting to see the Michigan Panthers go at home and they drop an egg they lay an egg to the Birmingham Stallions 21-12. The DC Defenders go to 2-0 at 7, winning 17-12 against Memphis. Roughnecks 11-9. They lost 11-9 to the Renegades, and then of course with the Battlehawks having their home opener, which still, in my opinion, I always believe that was San Antonio's home opener, but San Antonio drops 26-9 over the Battlehawks. All right, getting some of the comments in because I'm leaving it mostly open to you guys of what you want to discuss. Yeah, also we'll touch a little bit about that Marcus Sims trade too. Birmingham will not be the same this season. With Green Bay making Magoo a wide receiver instead of a quarterback, you can see the difference in his play. Matt Corral will not take Birmingham to another championship. Okay. Chris Mason said, yeah, I was talking about the first 4 games. Yeah, that's for sure. What's going on, Ken? Glad to have you on. If you are watching, wherever you're watching the show, you can share this to your pages. And, we definitely want to get as many people here to discuss what's going on in the UFL. All right. Elite receiver Sims traded for a tackle. I'm guessing, my guess is that Michigan wanted more beef on the front line, on the offensive line. Whereas with Marcus Sims being in Houston, it does add another wide receiver to the mix. I get it. You would think, why would they need that type of help? Right now, Houston need all the help they can get, sitting right now at 0-2. As we get into these matchups coming up in literally a day. Tomorrow, it's the Arlington Renegades against the Birmingham Stallions in Birmingham. You got Houston against Memphis on Saturday. You got San Antonio taking on Michigan in Michigan on Sunday on ABC. And then probably the matchup of the weekend, it's an XFL conference battle between the Defenders and the St. Louis Battlehawks. I'm looking forward to DC and St. Louis because it's going to be a battle of the running teams. You're going to have to open up the passing game in this game because both teams know about their running attacks. Of course, Abram Smith coming back into the fold now for DC. Right. You also seeing the things of Jacob Sailors and Howard over for the Battlehawks. So it's going to be interesting to see how well that these two teams match up when it comes to both their rushing attacks. If anything is going to be utilized to go beyond the rushing attacks and start utilizing those arms of Tatum and Wilkins. Of course, the defenses of both have been electric so far, even with Greg Williams now leaving the Defenders and heading towards Tennessee State to join Reggie Barlow. But I think where we are right now, they still are in a great place. Yeah, they're still in a great place, and you can't fault them. You can't fault them for it at all. I'm trying to get one of these groups to say, hey, come on in and join the conversation. See what happens. Jersey says that Marcus Sims trade was wild to me, but this ain't going to make Houston better. They still don't have a running game, and Houston needs a brand new coach. That has been said by several former players that either play for Coach Johnson or others that have been watching the UFL. That was said about AJ Smith here. What are your thoughts on AJ leaving San Antonio as an OC and Greg being out? What's going on, Carlos? My thoughts on AJ leaving, that is a surprise to me. Greg, I kind of seen Greg was already on his way out the door because of the job at Tennessee State. Barlow was grabbing everybody. Just about everybody. Fred Costa is going to leave when the season ends, or he may leave before then too because of fast track to recruiting. You got to remember Tennessee State this past year in the Ohio Valley Conference was 9-4. They wasn't a joke, even with Eddie George as the head coach. So they're trying to build off of this now and bringing in an offensive head like Reggie Barlow alongside with a Fred Costin, a defensive minded person like like Greg Williams. You got to remember these days we're looking at general managers in college football. We got the college football, we got the general managers in the UFL, we got the general managers in the NFL, but now college football is taking on that. The whole thing with it, back to his other comment about my thoughts on AJ Smith, I always thought it was about philosophies. If that was the case, then AJ and Wade would not be together in Houston when they were part of the XFL back in 2023. Let that marinate. Just let it smooth and marinate for a second. Now tell me I'm wrong. Jersey says rumors are that AJ resigned because of disagreements with Wade. Could be. Philosophies. You got a defensive minded guy and an offensive minded guy. And whether AJ was a yes man or not, that story will either be told or not. Disappointed about AJ leaving. Yeah, it is a disappointment. Hopeful to see him as a head coach in this league. That doesn't, just because he's out as OC does not mean he's totally out of spring football. It's just there's some, right now, things are back and forth between the two. There's differences right there. That doesn't mean that he won't be out at some point or back in at some point. He could be. They keep talking about expansion and things like that. I have nothing against it. But if you've been watching the show, I have told you that you, me, these people that make these comments, we're the reasons for it. And there's no way you can tell me differently. No way. Yeah, I think if push comes to shove, if this continues, AJ Smith being a head coach is a possibility. But you gotta understand it all. As much as you and I are following it, and I've seen on social media, because the title of this show is "What in the World is Going On Here?" Because for 2 weeks we've seen the ends of Reggie Barlow, Greg Williams, AJ Smith. For a time, we thought Ken Whisenhunt wasn't coming back. Ken Whisenhunt's returned. So that was a good sign. It was always plus. But my thing was, this is happening at the weirdest and the wrong time. That's my biggest beef, is the timing of all of this. Why is it happening here? Why were the players sitting there going after the league saying we need a CBA to be paid better? Why they were doing that? And you can tell, like, all of this is crazy. What in the world is going on here? Spurge leaving. Like, you can see weird times are happening. Chaos in spring football. Big red flags, sir. Big red flags. But I'm about the game. And the game right now is dealing with, the game is being overshadowed. And we all know this. The game itself on the field is being overshadowed by ratings. It's being overshadowed by attendance. It's being overshadowed by what's going on off the field with the players and even the coaches themselves. Jersey says, especially with the CBA not being agreed upon and everything else going on, this definitely is not the time for coaches leaving, players being upset about compensation. Chris says there's a little chaos everywhere. Everywhere. Call me a glass is half full person. Okay, glass is half full person. I like to think these UFL moves are merely coincidental. Explain yourself. I'm gonna leave that up to you. There's a March Madness golf thing now. March Madness is over. It's done, finished, finito. That's why me personally, I've always felt true. Growing pains are painful in the new league, but you're always looking for. We'll see what happens, GB. We'll see what happens as this thing. I may be able. It looks like from the looks of things, y'all may be here for the ride without them, and that's fine. It's okay. And here's my main thing. As much as we want to sit here and we get mad about the ratings and the attendance, those are key factors onto why you want a league like this to grow. If there are people that are not watching this because it's not another league, then that's a problem. And you see attendances the best because you want to know why? Can't trust the product. Just think about a food place that you don't like, or an item of food or something that you go out and you purchase someone and you get the product and it doesn't look good, or it's not up to par. You are very indecisive of whether you want to go back and try out that product again. Or if you go to the store and get a product and you don't like the product, or it just didn't hit as it should. This is literally where we are right now with the UFL. It's not hitting as it should. And why is that? Is it not enough marketing to the mix? Is it the fact that, and I spoke with a friend of mine about this. We had a nice little chat about it. You have to cater to us because we're here for your product. We wanted something different. One of the things that the 2020 XFL season was sort of able to accomplish, granted that a template was already kind of given for Vince McMahon when he brought the league back in 2020, right? Then he went and got football men. I'm not saying that what is currently happening is not football men, but I'm saying when you get a person like an Oliver Luck into the mix, you get somebody like him who's able to keep the needle moving. And granted, we saw how each week the ratings had declined. It was going to happen, but that was only because they were trying to see what the effect was. Granted, FS2's games, when they broadcast on FS2 games, they were either 1 million or just slightly under 800,000, 900,000, whatever. That was their biggest audience. Do you have FS2? You have FS2 somewhere on your cable. And if you don't, you definitely sure going to find it. Let me get to these comments, man, because I'm kind of slip back a little bit because I wanted to get that out. Going to be 100% honest. We will be the ultimate fans. As fans, we will be the ultimate factor in whether or not this league survives. It's on us whether we want to believe it or not. I don't know about a Cards fan show. I tried it and it was cool, but that's a whole nother story. It's hard to grow when they don't really advertise. It is really hard to grow when you don't advertise it. My issue is that too many people are complaining and not supporting. Do we love football? Do you like the idea of year-round football? If so, go and support and stop complaining. To an extent. Again, it's about the product. If you're going out and you're supporting it, you're going to, it's like you eating a stale cereal just because you like the cereal, but the cereal is stale. I'm supporting the cereal, but it's a bad taste. It's a very bad taste. You went out and you got your favorite cereal and it was stale. You like this football, but you're not liking what you're seeing. It's hard to support that. I said approximately 600 watch each game. And that may be the consistency there. If it can stay there, I guess that we're looking at some type of success, but I should not really see a network televised game get 600,000. And it makes it hard for those guys that's out there playing to portray that wants these opportunities, because at this rate, for a lot of them, that window is closing. But they still want to go out there and show you that they still got it. The UFL didn't rest or fall on one particular coach, Reggie Marlowe, on one player. The show must and will go on. Okay. The thing about that is you got to have one to build upon. At least with AJ McCarron, there was something to build off of his name. Granted, we want to see players go out and succeed. We want this thing to grow. We want this to be phenomenal, but you need a star to make this work. You need a star. You need to make a star. Who is the star of this league right now? Is it Luis Perez? Is it Jordan Ta'amu? Is it Jacob Sailors? You don't even know who the stars are this year. You just know that they're players. You need a star saying, hey, I don't mind seeing him when he's out there on the field. Was it Alex Magoo? Who are the stars here? What in the world is going on here? DC and, of course, STL have great crowds at games, but it's hard when other games have a scrimmage feel to the games, especially when you're in Birmingham. I hate to single out Birmingham, but the reason I have to single out Birmingham is because you have a championship team, but nobody is going to your games. That's a big red flag there. The big red flag. What can be done? Local marketing. And you need owners. You definitely need owners. This has always been the problem. This has always been a problem. I'm hopeful that the UFL survives and prospers, that the league does expand with additional 2 to 4 teams. Just that alone can cause a huge influx of excitement and interest around the country. How can you get it, sir? How can you get it when you don't even do it with the ones that you already have? How? Adding teams does not solve the problem. That does not solve the problem at all. It just makes it worse. Because you have to have it where they are thirsty for it and that they can believe in it. The reason why the NFL is still a great, big product as it is, because people believe in it. They see it all the time. You have stars that you can get behind. And it's difficult when a rehash keeps coming in and out, in and out, in and out. And get it. Listen, I understand from the player's perspective, they want to make their next level. They want to get there. And speaking of which, a man by the name of Jordan Rogers. Listen, I understand where you were going with this, but if you're working for that league, don't spit on it. I understand the context of where you were going, but don't spit on it, brother. That they don't want to be there. They want to be there because they want to play and they want to showcase that they want to go to another level. Because if that's the case, we wouldn't even have a UFL. We just so many comments. Oh, thank you y'all for tuning in. Yes. Let's see. Let's keep going with the comments. It just depends on the teams and locations of those respective cities. That shouldn't even be the case if you say you want football. GB, you are right that the only teams with good crowd turnouts, they are the two teams really marketing locally. STL has billboards up about the Battlehawks in DC as well. And speaking of which, the Battlehawks also have sponsorship deals with McDonald's and Lee's Chicken, which is a regional chicken joint in the St. Louis area. So with that being said, they're at least trying to get to the people in different ways. Like a city like Birmingham, which is in a football state, should already be having mindsets of how you can get 40,000 people or 20,000 people inside of that stadium. And you know that there's a championship there. There's a champion in Birmingham. That should instantly get you to go out and say, I want to see that team play. Because they're a champion. You would think that. With no question or hesitation, I want to be there. Because I like seeing winners. I don't want to see just attendance. I want to see winners. Regarding the Battlehawks, I can't really complain about their efforts to market itself here in St. Louis. The other markets need to pull their own weight. I like to think that the Battlehawks marketing people are sharing their notes with the other cities. Kurt Hunziker was adamant about doing that back in the 2020 season, at least to bring up everything to get where the league was going at the time. Yes, I was a fan of that too. But St. Louis is the only group back then that didn't have an NFL squad. So they were already outside looking in. But when they got involved, people was backing them up. And only if they were to open up those top, they would open up the top. If they would have did that in 2020, guaranteed instantly, they would have been had the 40,000. Been. Maybe 50. And that could have set the standard. So that's a slight issue I can blame on Oliver Luck and Kurt Hunziker on this show. Is that you chose not to open up the top gates in 2020. And Kurt probably pushed it too. He pushed for it. And they told him no. Luis Perez is somewhat of a start because of his track record in spring football. I believe keeping teams in a hub hurts. Let them stay in their cities doing live radio. Here's get to know fans. Luis Perez could be another Kurt Warner success story. I can see his book being made into a movie. We have been saying that for the past few years. The hub doesn't help move these players to their respective cities to love so they can interact with the fans and bring excitement to their team. Good evening, Excalibur, the real mascot it should be of the Battlehawks. Because I found out they did Archie B. Hawk at the game, and I was a little heated by that. A little heated. Stars won't exist in the UFL until the salaries are such that the league could retain some of that CFL talent from going to Canada and staying here in the States. Sounds like that's a UFL league leadership problem. That's what that sounds like. Does having 3 teams in Texas hurt? No, because Texas is a football state. It's a big one, and it's 4 hours from each direction to get to. Well, I can't say that. Can you get to 4 hours there in Dallas? I know you can from Dallas to Houston. You can from Houston to San Antonio. I can get there in 3 from certain spots. That's just me. But it's not far of a drive to get to each. And it's worthy of it because it brings different Texas cities together for those teams. So no, I don't think it hurts. I honestly think the UFL screwed up when they merged. They should have put team owners in place so that the local marketing and cost for their teams came from the owners and not the league. Well, here's the thing about that. Owners do not really want to spend a lot of money to make things work. They just want it to pretty much microwave, ding, be working right away. And you have to entice them, probably damn near trick them to say, this is what I want. And this is how we want to do it. So that way that you can come on board and make this bad boy work. Because I think San Antonio, they show them on the air from time to time. What I mean is they're allowing players and stuff to go on the news stations there. When in 2023 with Houston, only one news station actually got involved in that big city, and that was the ABC affiliate at the time. Not even in St. Louis. See, barely now in St. Louis that the media are starting to focus on the Battlehawks. Those are your eyeballs. You shouldn't have to really go on social media to see it, especially when you have a television and radio market that has the biggest attendance in spring football. That should be a thing. But if they don't believe in it, and I'm talking about the media outlets, if they're not believing in it, why should you? Why should you believe in it? It's not even necessary. But yeah, that's kind of where I stand on that. And believe me, they know it. They know this stuff already. They know. I've been saying this for a long time. I've been saying that for a long time. That RGB is corporately bound by laws and restrictions. Why I have complete creative. That, you know what? That's facts. That is very much facts. Facts. I think the RGB Hawk was a subtle attempt to do what Kurt Hunzinger was trying to do back in 2020. The goal for the players in the UFL should be to just be a star in the UFL. If you didn't get drafted and you've had multiple chances to make a NFL roster and don't, then just be a star in the UFL, period. On Facebook, a Brahmas man told me that he hardly sees anything about the team as local news coverage, social media presence, etc. Very telling, don't you think? It's very telling. But like, we want to get to know the players. Like, even right now in the UFL, we know most of these players. Travis Feeney, we look at him in St. Louis as a star because we've seen him more out in the open than other players. Peter plays at a fantastic level. I miss seeing like Kevin Atkins and Jerry Jones Smith. I would love coaches shows. What is wrong with a UFL coaches show? Even the XFL, when they did the XFL today, when they decided they wanted to take upon a pregame show, that was the one thing that kept their fans involved in the league, saying, hey, this is what's coming on. But I don't need to see a ESPN bet or a Fox bet that's near the end of the first quarter or at halftime or in the third quarter. I need something different than that. The gaming, like, I understand these days you can go on the prize stuff like Prize Picks and Underdog and DraftKings and all that stuff. But when the league had its own, I guess that was just another expense that you didn't want to deal with. The XFL back in 2020, I get it. You didn't have the DraftKings and stuff then, for real. So you had your own app to go on and check this stuff. When you had it, that worked out. Fans were involved. The gaming. You had the gaming aspect, like a trade. You can do the fantasy. What happened to the fantasy game? What happened to the UFL fantasy football that they were supposed to be doing? You see what I'm saying? That is the fan interaction. They completely have removed whatever it was from 5 years ago. There was a template given. You know what? And shout out to those that kept saying that they removed a lot of Vince's vision. And they don't want to give him credit for that. But I will sit here on the X-Fan show and tell you that they removed a lot of his vision. And his vision was clear. It was precise. Vince McMahon was a monster in certain aspects of life, but him putting that money into his vision to 2020 was a blueprint for the success of this type of league. There are other things that he did that was wrong. But to get it to work, he was so right for it. So right for it. Said Sports Hub, STL deserves some credit they are covering. We hope to see what that transpire is like down the road. Bring back the XFL Today show. It's a huge part of the XFL UFL Today show. It's huge for keeping the fans in tune with the league. Moose Johnson on the second market and it shows. Correction, bring back the UFL Today show. If they really believe that the UFL can survive without us fans, they are on drugs. The UFL needs us fans, not the other way around, and league owners need to recognize that. I love when y'all fans get to sound off on the show because what you want to see is the league succeed. And what you have seen in your experiences with other leagues is something that you want different with this special league that we define as the UFL. This is what you want. Honestly, that's what the UFL should stand for. Your football league. What do you want to see in your game of football? Because you like what you see. And that was the thing about the XFL 2020. I know I'm getting away from talking about the games themselves because that was the focus, but you guys have been chiming in. And so I have to touch on what you guys want to chime in on. I'm not going to move away from that. Locally, Fox 2 has a game, Battlehawk Game Day show that airs 30 minutes before Battlehawks game. Fine. That's cool. Nothing against it. And that's fine. You need to do that. And you should do that every time a game airs. Not just because it's not on Fox. You should do a pregame show every week. There should be a radio show where the coach comes in and talks about what to look forward to in the next Battlehawks game. You do know that these days you don't have to be completely in the studio to do a radio interview. You have found ways to make this bad boy work. Tell me I'm lying. Vinnie Mac said he was going to return football to the fans. UFL ownership is doing everything in their power to exclude the fans. And that's exactly what the problem. When you put out marketing efforts and you see that the marketing behind is very minimal, you just want to say that I'm just putting my product out there. If you really have paid attention, go back to down to COVID in 2021 when there was no fans inside the stadiums. And when we had that Super Bowl with the Tampa Bay and Kansas City Chiefs. Think about that. You know people have saw that. Granted, the game was watched by over 100 million. The NFL and the network that aired it didn't even care that the fans weren't in there to see that game. You know why? Because you watched it. You watched the Super Bowl no matter what. You watched every NFL game with no fans inside. So what are you seeing now with these networks? They're really focusing on you watching it on television. It almost doesn't even matter if you're there or not. That's literally what you're seeing now. Imagining just the Super Bowl. Just give me 2021 again and put that out there. You can have a Super Bowl halftime show with no fans in it. You can pump up the crowd again like they did before. Nothing will really change off that. So yeah, listen, we have all of ideas and things like that of what we would love to see. But it's up to them whether they want to do that. I wish they could find ways to just go ahead and change up and flip the script now. Do it for the better so that way you don't have a lot to that things can get better so we can enjoy this. Because 600,000 watching a NFL game would be good on cable, but not on network television, man. Not when you have 4 or 5 channels, network TV to watch it from. You can't base everything around St. Louis. You just can't do that. Because St. Louis gets the biggest crowds, and then St. Louis is a sports city, and the others fall into place with that. It's not okay. So if the UFL is watching, we do have solutions that we would love to see. Please bring back the Fan Advisory Network. Do it at the halfway point of the season. So we really want to help the UFL work. We want to see this work. We want it to be an enjoyable experience that we continue to watch every week. And please, for the life of me, go back to after when the Super Bowl is over, the following week, we should have UFL football. This March to June stuff is not okay. You can start up in February. It doesn't hurt it. You can sit there and say, well, it's right after the NBA All-Star game. If you ain't noticing about the NBA is dealing with a nice little decline themselves, where they had to literally redo the NBA All-Star game. So you really think that that's going to hurt the UFL? It might actually help the UFL if they go another week starting on the 19th of February or the 3rd week of February. Said last night, every play from the Battlehawks was played in an hour. Don't remember what network, but I loved it. Ain't nothing wrong with that either. When the Vegas Vipers were here, there was one segment on the news that I saw talking about them, and that was before the season started. Once the season started, they never talked about the Vipers again. Houston has a bad team and a coach. I mean, that's where we at right now. That's where we at. We want to see, you want to have a team to love, you want to have a team to hate. And right now, the team that's disliked is the Birmingham Stallions, which is great. Great stuff. The DC Defenders. Shout out to Matty Fresh of Springball Boulevard. I loved your video on how much you dislike the battle. That's the stuff I want to see. It was done clean. That's the type of things that will bring fans into the mix. They like that kind of stuff. Like, I can't stand the DC Defenders. You get what I'm saying? Like, because of what they were able to do against the Battlehawks back in 2023. Take it back to 2020. You know what I'm saying? That STL DC matchup is a straight up rivalry. That is great. This whole thing, even with the Brahmas and the Battlehawks, that is another rivalry. That's and I will give the UFL credit with this. When they put those 4 teams together on each side, it did, at least from the XFL side, it brought rivals to the mix. Because even Arlington and St. Louis have it. We can sit here and say that it was a superior conference. Granted, Birmingham was the one that became the champion, the victor. I like that one, Excalibur. Every winner is hated. Chiefs, Patriots. Hatred is a sign of fear and respect. I like it. Let's see. I think the UFL owners need to watch the X Fan show. They need to literally ask the fans what we want from this league in order for it to succeed and stick around for years to come. The league leadership is welcome to come on this show. This ain't about drawing numbers. This is about finding solutions so that way we can continue to support the product. I would love for any of those to come on here. And honestly, I would not say a lot. You know why? Because you guys would say it. You guys would basically have the solutions prepared and ready for what you want to see. Whether the UFL starts in February or March, they'll be competing against something. Sure, it would have sucked if a Battlehawks game was either canceled or poorly attended due to the winter storms we dealt with. And I think they planned that into a factor too. The league needs teams in Florida, New York, California, Pacific Northwest. Well, you have to start small and work your way out. It said Sunday's STL DC game is the UFL's game of the week for sure. STL and DC really have a rivalry going on, and it's good for the UFL, but it's the only rivalry so far. Arlington-Houston rivalry would be a great rivalry if Houston was a better team. It's just my opinion. Like I said, San Antonio and St. Louis have that because, and I think that's more of a fan thing. The Brahmas reminded me of the Viper, the Tampa St. Louis thing that they were putting out. I don't even think Tampa even knew they were in a rivalry. When somebody had said that Viper fans stand up to poop. And I hate that Vegas got the brunt of that because that wasn't even necessary. But it was because this is the name of the Vipers is why that happened. Well, yes, of course. But can you imagine if St. Louis and DC both fight off for the XFL Conference Championship again? Can you imagine that? Especially if it goes down the way that it's going right now. And don't get me wrong, shout out to Shannon Harris, who got all of that knowledge and stuff from Reggie Barlow on how to get this thing going for them. And this DC St. Louis game is the biggest game of the week. They need to send the New Orleans Breakers back to Portland, bring back the LA Wildcats, put the Gamblers in Vegas, and bring back the Seattle Sea Dragons and schedule their games earlier. You know what? Listening to guys like Ben DiNucci and Brandon Silvers and Jeff Badet, and they all speaking on the matter. Mark Thompson. Shout out to all of y'all. Because honestly, they want to see it succeed too. but just not the way that it's been dealt right now. That's the crazy thing. They all want to see it succeed, but it's just how leadership is doing things. All right, I got 5 minutes, and I'm going to go ahead and go quick on these here picks. Renegades at Stallions. It should be a good one on a Friday night. And it's hard to pick against the Stallions even now. And we got 3 teams at 2-0 right now in the XFL conference, and then you got 2 teams at 1-1 with 3 teams at 0-2. Oh man, does the Renegades stay undefeated? I'm gonna say no. Stallions get them by. It's gonna be a 1-score game. I don't see how I don't see how they go past 1 score. Putting Houston in the USFL conference killed their mojo. Taking away 2 games a year against San Antonio and Arlington was not financially feasible for the league. Well, they wanted to keep Houston. That was the main thing, because the Houston Roughnecks was something special in 2020 and 2023. So you had to make up something to keep the Houston Roughnecks alive. Granted, it's the Gamblers. That got the axe here. But they really wanted to keep the Roughnecks because of the fan base at the time. And they're in the spot that they play in, TDECU. I would love to see Chicago in the mix. If Milwaukee were to get involved, Pittsburgh, of course, Ohio a lot of people want Ohio back in, especially Canton. Thanks, GB. We'll definitely see you around. I'm finna get out of here in a couple minutes myself. Renegades by 3. Battlehawks is the only undefeated team after this week. Okay. Let's see. Roughnecks Showboats. Roughnecks better get me a win. CJ, you better get me a win this week. I'm picking you over Memphis. Tall task. You went and got Marcus Sims. You went and got your all UFL player. So you better utilize him. He's active this week too. So you better get a win. So I'm picking the Houston Roughnecks. So I got Stallions on Friday night. The Roughnecks on Saturday afternoon. The Sunday doubleheader on ABC. Brahmas and Panthers. I really think I would hate to see Wade go to 0-3. I would really hate to see Wade go 0-3, but I think that's going to wind up happening. I don't think the Panthers are going to lose again, especially the way they laid an egg in Ford Field. And DC and St. Louis, of course, I'm going to have to go with the Battlehawks. Battlehawks want that game because it's going to be a lot of revenge, especially this DC's revenge game this week, because they lost Abram Smith, and you know Abram Smith is ready. Will be ready to get his revenge and say, I'm back home, because he ran for over 200 yards the last time he stepped foot in the dome. But that was as an XFL squad. There's the difference. I was as an XFL team. Now he's a UFL player. He didn't play last season. So can he make the same feat happen again in this upcoming game? And I'm going to say no. If he runs for 100 yards, cool. I don't think he ran for 2. But I think that St. Louis is going to pull that off. And for fans that have home games, get out there and cheer on your teams. You have them. Go out. I'm telling you now. Go out and check in with your squads. All right. This is a good time to do that. that would be a good thing for St. Louis if they do win and get a championship out of it. So Brahmas and STL over DC. Chris thinks St. Louis is in the ship. That'd be nice if the Panthers and Stallions, or the Panthers or the Stallions, go against the Battlehawks. This is a good time for them to do it. Make it to the games if you can. I'm really looking for it. Sunday might be the day. I'm gonna have to go check out this game, DC and St. Louis. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hope that you enjoyed it. Thanks to everybody that chimed in on the show tonight. We'll catch you next Thursday for another edition of the X-Fan Show. And again, much love to all you guys. Take care.